Hi there, Dr. Destini Copp here, and welcome back to the Creators MBA show. Today's episode is a little bit different. I got a message from Allie. She runs Allie Scraps, a scrapbooking, digital downloads, and Bible journaling shop, and she submitted some questions for the show. And when I read them, I knew I had to get her on here live because the things that she's dealing with, I know a lot of people out there can relate to. She's got a list of about 13,000 subscribers. She has 40+% open rates, and she has solid click-through rates. So looking at the numbers, she has a healthy, engaged email list. But here's the problem. She has accidentally trained them to expect freebies, and her price point of her products are low, and she's struggling to get them to actually buy. Does this sound familiar to you? And in this hot seat, I will dig into exactly how to fix this. The mini magazine method for newsletter, the teach and pitch framework, and how to use your promo calendar to drive your content instead of the other way around. And also how to start thinking about other ways to monetize your newsletter, like sponsorships and maybe even a membership when the time is right. So this is a real conversation with a real online business owner, and I am telling you, the takeaways are solid gold. Let's get right into it. All right. So today we're doing something a little bit different. I have Allie who submitted questions for the podcast. And when I read them, I'm like, Allie, I would love for you to come on the podcast and for us just to have a conversation about these. So she has graciously agreed to do a hot seat here. Now, when I read her questions, I'm like, 100% everybody listening to this would be able to relate to these questions. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump right in and read, Allie, what you submitted, just so it sets the stage for them. And here's what Allie said. She said, here's what I need help with: consistency. I need to do better at sending weekly emails, but sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself because people have been on my list for a long time. I don't want to get boring, but I always don't have new things to share. And then she went on to say, I have a semi-large list, 13,000. I would say that's a very good size list, who are pretty engaged. She says, I have 40% plus open rates and 3 to 5% click-through rates consistently. Love those. I would agree with you. You definitely have an engaged list there. But I have trained them to expect freebies a lot. I'd love to train them to purchase more. Any suggestions on how to get them to click on things to purchase, not just freebies? Okay, Allie, we are going to dig into all of this, and I definitely have some thoughts for you. But before I get into that, do you want to add anything to that and give the audience just a little bit more context on you, your business, and what you're doing?
Absolutely. So first of all, I like that you said that I was gracious enough to be on the podcast, and I was just like so excited you're willing to answer my questions. And I was like, heck yes, I will, sign me up. But like you said, I'm Allie, and I own Allie Scraps, which is a scrapbooking and digital scrapping, physical scrapbooking, mixed media, and Bible journaling shop. I mainly do digital downloads and like small size classes. I really don't, and this might be part of my problem. My most expensive product is $125, and that is a vault to everything I have. They get it all. And a lot of my a lot of my products are right in the range of $5 to $25. So they've come to expect the smaller dollar things, and with the freebies. And they will click on the freebies. I use Kit, like everything set up for tripwires and all of that. But like even my tripwires are $5 or $6 or $12. Like they are not expensive tripwires. And I think I've just trained them that like they know there's a freebie and they know there's a tripwire after that, but they don't always click and convert. So my tripwires, I want to say they convert around like 3 to 5% sometimes, especially if they're new ones. But I would love to get that up there more. I do love like spoiling my audience with some of these freebies and things. And I try to be intentional about what the freebies are and what they lead to, that they're connected or that they're relevant. But just would really like to utilize my list to actually grow my business and monetarily, not just grow it out of freebies and summits and things. So any advice you have would be great.
Okay. All of that. Great. Thanks for that additional context.
Okay.
That
a lot of context.
probably helps me figure out how I'm going to frame this. But okay, so I'm going to go back to the first question that you sent to me, and then we'll expand from there. So the first question was the consistency. And I think a lot of people listening to this, they feel the same way, right? They know at a minimum, they need to be sending out once a week. If you could do more, I highly recommend that. But I always recommend that people start out once a week. That's what I do. I started out once a week. Once I got really good with that, and then I added more additions to my newsletter. So start out once a week. But what you said was you feel like you're repeating yourself because people have been on your list a long time. You don't want to get bored. You don't want them to get bored, but you also don't have new things to share. So I want to go back to the research study that I did regarding newsletters. And this is where I typically start with people. This is the basics. So when I did that research study, what I realized, all of us in this like creator, digital product creator, course creator, membership, whatever, in this niche that we were in, we weren't doing our newsletters, our weekly newsletter the right way. Now, again, just to set the stage for people listening, we're talking about that weekly newsletter that you're sending out. If you're doing a launch, like for a webinar, or you're doing some type of launch to launch one of your signature products, that is a different strategy. Those are sales emails. Right now, we're talking about your newsletter email. So when I did the research study, what I realized is these newsletter businesses out there, if you would, they were doing things a lot different. And I think a lot of them came from journalism type backgrounds. They were thinking about it a different way. And how they have their newsletter set up is what I call this mini magazine method. So when you think about, and again, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but when I was in high school, I was really into Cosmopolitan or Glamour. California South. Can you relate to that?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that's what it's so funny you say that, like they come from a journalism mindset, because for the first half of college, I was actually a journalism major. And I think my brain just separated the journalism and I'm a graphic design, like I have a graphic design degree. And so it's so funny that you say that, because like I should have that journalism mindset, but I don't, because it's different than the crafting in my mind, if that makes any sense.
If you have that journalism background, this is going to be so easy for you. I actually have a friend of mine, she's in our mastermind, and she was a journalist. And I think her emails are some of the best out there. She's much better at it than I am. This is really going to click for you. Yeah. Setting up your newsletter so that you're looking at a different way. It's going to be more like a magazine, a mini magazine. So you're going to have these different sections. And for the majority of us, I generally recommend that you have 3 to 5 sections. If you have 5 sections, that gives you a little bit more to play around with it. You might not have every section, every single newsletter, but depending on what you're promoting, like if you have an event, one of your sections might be an event. Now, if you don't have an event to promote that week, just don't include it. But generally, you want 3 to 5 consistent sections that people can relate to, they kind of get used to. And you have these every week. So you have these sections, and that's going to help you solve what you said here. I don't want to get boring, but I always don't have new things to share. However, when you have these different sections, you're going to be able to mix and match things. It's going to be much easier for you to come up with things to share, you might put a little bit different spin on it. Like you might promote a blog post that you promoted in the past that might lead into a tripwire or something that you have, but you might put a little bit different angle on it. So you're going to have these 3 to 5 sections. What you want to think about here in those sections that you have, that mini magazine, to figure out what to promote there or what you're going to have in that section. What I always tell people to start with is their promotional calendar, which is different than what a lot of people do. A mistake that a lot of people do is they start with the content and then they think, okay, I'll figure out promotions and afterthought. But when you think about, okay, this week I'm going to be promoting your vault. I think you said you had some type of vault that was $125. If that's your main thing that you're going to be promoting in this week's newsletter, then your content in those mini magazine sections, maybe not every single section, but a lot of those sections are going to basically point to that vault. So let's say that you have one of those sections is your blog. You have a blog post that promotes your vault or takes people. In that section, you're going to be very kind of strategic about that reader journey that you take people on. So let's say that you have some teaching. I had what I call this teach and pitch method in the Newsletter Profit Club. So you're going to teach them a little bit. And then you're going to be very specific about that reader journey where you pitch whatever that next step is, that call to action, and then you take them on that reader journey to basically purchase your vault. Now, not everybody's going to purchase it, but you're going to be very strategic about that reader journey. And you're going to do that for each of the sections in your newsletter. And that's where you basically train them to purchase from you and not necessarily to expect freebies all the time. Now, not everybody's going to make a purchase, but with your open rates that you mentioned here, 40+% and 3 to 5% click-through rates, you can really start monetizing that newsletter. There's other ways to monetize that newsletter, and we can certainly get into that, which you can definitely do with your list, 13,000 people. We can look at other ways to monetize, but your products will be one of the best margin opportunities that you have.
Absolutely. And like that's something I was trying to explore in the most last couple of weeks as well. So I think when I was trying to get serious about this in my head, I mentioned before we started our call that I have actually presented at a couple hobby school summits. And when I sat down one day and I was like, I'm going to write a newsletter, I'm going to get something out. I'm not surprised by your magazine advice because, like I said, I have listened to a lot of your podcasts. So I was like, I know that's what she's going to say. She needs to think of it as a magazine. And so I did sections, like you said, events. And I did throw a couple freebies in there that I didn't even create anything new. Just these are just new ones, or these are just past ones. And I was very proud of myself because just mentioning some of those things, there was a hobby school summit that I wasn't even presenting at. And I think I got at least 5 all access pass sales from that, which was very exciting. There was a bundle that I was in and they had a contest, and I don't want to brag, but I blew the contest out of the water and won every single one of it, even for upgrades and for the free opt-ins. And again, I only mentioned it once. And I was like, okay, yes, those were either a free bundle or a free event, but they upgraded from those. I know I've trained them to click, even if it's on a freebie, but I can use those to my benefit, just promoting affiliate stuff as well. So I think part of it is getting out of my head of not just my own stuff, because I always think that I have to not only promote when I have something new, but that's what drives me to promote is when I have something new and shiny and all of that. But it can be, hey, I discovered this product and it's really cool. I want to tell you about it. And that can be a magazine section.
Absolutely. So each of those sections in your mini magazine newsletter, you can promote different things. Now, I like it to be somewhat cohesive, right? You don't want everything to be disjointed, but You can promote like an event and get affiliate income from that. You can promote one of your products or blogs or whatever and take them on a journey there. So there's a lot of other things that you could do. The other thing that I would love for you to do with a list of 13,000 is to start doing some sponsorships.
Yep. And the universe has been telling me that because I've heard like 4 different people like talk about newsletter sponsorships. And so I've turned it on in Kit that like I'm open for that. I haven't gotten anything yet, but it's been like 2 weeks. So I'm not incredibly like nervous about that yet. But I have it on my list to reach out to some people as well of being like, hey, don't have to go through Kit, but would you like to sponsor the newsletter as a whole? And I guess sometimes I do that as well with promotion swaps and things like that. But that's usually just tied to increased affiliate income or something for the solo email. But do you have any advice for like how to seek out some of those sponsorships or?
Yeah. So just so you know, and I know that you said you were going to be joining the Newsletter Profit Club when you're in the fall, when your kindergartner goes to school for the first time, which is exciting. That's always exciting when your youngest.
I'm a current 3rd grader. And so it'll be a 4th grader and a kindergartner, and they'll both be like out of the house and I can focus on work all day. So
yeah. So in the Newsletter Profit Club, I do have a lot of resources related to setting up that page and how to do it and the strategy behind it. There are resources out there, but honestly, I think people who would be some of your best kind of purchasers of that sponsorship would be like other hobby school speakers. So they're going to like me as hobby school, right? I would be interested in sponsoring your newsletter because that's definitely an audience that I want to get in front of. You're going to do it by networking, right? Yeah. So that would be, but there's tons of people out there that would be interested in getting in front of your audience. I do have some like websites that you can go to. The problem is a lot of those are like B2B type people. Yeah. So not exactly like I'm on there for hobby school, but I don't get a lot of traction because they're not interested in getting in front of my audience. But my creators MBA audience is a different story. They're definitely interested in getting in front of them.
And that's just what has been not hard. I'll say hard because I have such, I would say like a business, like I've jumped into all the B2B stuff. I've jumped into all of that. So much of I've been in coaching groups and all of that. And everyone has that B2B mindset and B2B audience. And I'm very much B2C. And it's only been, I was so excited to see you get, like I followed you before hobby school. I was so excited to see you get into hobby school because I was like, yes, like someone that has that business and that marketing mindset is seeing how to do some of this B2B stuff and can share your wisdom. Because it's I try really hard to convert some of that B2B stuff to B2C, but there's not always the resources. There's not always, it's not really the same advice. Like you can't, it's harder to do a webinar and get someone to commit to a $2,000 program in a B2C world.
It's definitely a different mindset. I do feel when you mentioned this earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and go here if that's okay.
Go for it.
That maybe one of your issues is your offers, right? Maybe you don't have high enough offers. And you're right. So when we think about signature offers in like a B2C world, it would be I'm not saying it can't be done, but like in the crafting type space, it would be difficult to sell a $2,000 offer. Now, I do feel like memberships do very well in the B2C. Yeah. And I think it's a hot market to get into, especially when you're building that community and you have that recurring revenue that comes in. I'm not going to come out and say it's easy to do something like that because it's definitely not. We've had our challenges with our Captain Cree Club community with Hobby School, but it can be lucrative if you're willing to invest the time, energy, and effort in getting it going.
And that's having a toddler. Like that has been he's very well behaved, very smart, but like having 2 boys is a lot of energy to put into them. And I've had a membership, like several ideas because I have no shortage of ideas. Trust me. It's just, like you said, that time, energy, effort to be able to put into them consistently. Again, consistency is my issue with my newsletters. Why sign myself up for failure if for a membership? Just finding that which idea am I going to move on with in some sort of like membership fashion? Like, even can you refresh my memory on the Craft and Create Club, like what the cost is per month?
Is $7 a month, but we really push people to annual or lifetime for it.
And that's, yeah, I really like how you do the monthly, annual, or lifetime option, because I'm guilty of it. Well, like, I don't want to sign up for monthly reoccurring charges because I'm going to forget about them because I have ADHD and it doesn't exist until the bill comes. But like, I will always opt into a lifetime membership of something because I go in phases. Like, I would love to this summer spend all this time with like crafting, but then I might not be able to do it during soccer or swim season. So I like that you have established that as, especially in the crafting industry, as an option, because not everyone thinks about that. And
so the other thing I would say that I have found, and it not just, and we don't have our membership on school, but the community, if you're really wanting to build like a community and have that membership option, school, I think, has made it easy for a lot of crafting type people. So that might, if you ever decide to go down that path, that might be an option for you.
Yeah, school keeps coming up in all my research right now. And I feel like 4 or 5 different summits, even this month, have used school as their options. I will also, like, I'm pretty techie, so like I'm very picky about what platforms I want to use, but I need to also stop overthinking and just like dive into something that's like ready-made, so to speak. So yeah.
I think the benefit there is, I think they make it easy for people in the community to participate and engage, which that's the part that I really like about it. I'm not a huge fan of some of the other technical aspects of it, which is probably what you are talking about. So we're thinking the same way there, but from a participant standpoint, I think people love it.
Yes, I agree. So I had a feeling you were going to say something about a membership, especially when we started talking prices. Yeah, like it is something I've thought about, definitely. And I'm just not, I haven't narrowed it down into what I want to focus on for a membership, because as I say to me, like crafting and scrapbooking is like my overall niche, but then I niche down even more sometimes with like mixed media, then I niche down even more with Bible journaling. And it's one of those, like, a lot of times my faith audience will see the things I do for like mixed media and they like it, but my mixed media audience doesn't always, not everyone's interested in the faith stuff. So I would say segmenting is definitely something that like I need to do better at, but I'm also, again, I said I have ADHD. I'm always like waterfall, like fire hose of information. I want everyone to know, and just ignore it if you don't want it. But I know that's not always the best marketing approach.
So in your Kit account or whatever email service provider you're using, do you have everybody segmented?
I haven't started to segment because I've been working with like ChatGPT or Claude, like working on basically audience personas. So I have 3 pretty set audience personas that are like memory keeping, planners, and then like a faith audience. So like those 3. And I've been trying, because again, like right now, like everyone's grouped together. So I'm trying to go back and resegment, if that makes sense. So moving forward, segment into those 3. But I haven't been consistent enough to send emails out to different segments, because it's just, when I have something like the several emails I've done lately, like it is something for everybody. And I don't know, like I don't want to do a week, like 3 different weekly emails that are segmented different, but I do want to speak to each of those 3 segments for things like promoting a new class or promoting a summit, or if there's something that aligns to one audience but not the other 2. So it's something, and yes, in my brain, have I done it? Like in practicality, not fully.
So I'm going to throw something out there. And this is more of a future thing, not a I got to do it now type thing.
Yeah.
Once you get everybody segmented, and you can do that by the tags, and you know how to do that, using Claude, there is a way to set up a skill for each of those segments or each of those newsletters. So if you wanted to send them a separate one, you can set it up so it's basically done for you. And we did cover that here recently in the Newsletter Profit Club, setting up that automation lab for your newsletter. So you can set up those skills so that it basically just does those newsletters automatically for you every single week. And you can set it up so you can target each of those segments and send them out separate newsletters.
Really cool.
Again, I think that's more of a future thing for you, but it can be done very, very easily.
And that's like, I've really been diving into a lot of the AI stuff of like just basically dumping everything that I've done or talked about or like transcripts of things and being like, hey, come up with something for me for this audience, or pull from a couple blog posts and tell me what I should share here. And so I really like that, like, using AI for things like that to narrow in some of what, here's all the information I have. Can you narrow it into what I should share? Because I'm absolutely terrible about choosing what to share, because I just feel like with my back catalog of products, my blog posts, all of that, there's so much to share, but narrowing it down to what would be appropriate right now is sometimes hard for me.
So basically, just at high level, just so you know how it works. So we have the automation set up. So it first go in and pull from like a Google Docs or Notion or whatever, what you're promoting that week, what the content theme is, and it will actually go out to your website and pull blog content that is related to whatever you're promoting in that content. So it is, when I say it is automated, it will write the email for you in HTML based on your mini magazine sections, get it all like nice and pretty. You take the HTML, put it in your email service provider. Who do you use, by the way?
And I use Kit.
You use Kit. So perfect. That's what I use. So I just copy and paste the HTML into the broadcast email. And only thing I have to add is the email subject lines and the preview text. Bang, we're done.
I need to just, a lot of this is just like all coming, like clarity, like coming together all at once. So I know what I need to do. It's just, again, organizing it. Like, and I think that's why I love using AI for that kind of organization and clarity.
Allie, any last minute questions before we wrap it up here?
My brain is spinning, so I probably have a million questions, but none of them come to mind right now.
I'll send you the meeting transcript just so you have it and have all the notes and everything. You don't have to write it down.
Oh, thank you.
Now, before we go, can you let the audience know where they can find you? And I believe you have a free gift for them also.
I do. So I have, I'm queen of the freebies. So I have a crafty planner freebie. So it's 4 different planning pages. So you can plan a crafty project, or it doesn't have to be a crafty project, just any project. I've been reaching for these constantly over the past 6 months. So I thought I would share them with everybody. So that is linked. And then if you would like to find me at alliescraps.com, and it's ALLIESCRAPS.com. And my shop is shop.alliescraps.com. And I'm also sporadically on Instagram at Allie_scraps. Come find me on there. I post rarely, but I'm usually scrolling.
Okay. I'll make sure that all of those links are in the show notes. And Allie, thank you so much for this conversation. I had fun.
Well, thank you. Me too. Even though I have a long to-do list, this is very fun.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you loved the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.